Hey friends, welcome to the In Focus podcast, a show for photographers who are looking to grow and scale a photography business that feels good. I'm your host, Gina, a wedding and elopement photographer, industry educator, coach, and most importantly, your friend. On this show, we'll dive into actionable strategies, industry trends, and all things photography related so you can leave each episode feeling inspired and in focus. Today is my first guest episode, and I'm very excited to share. I invited Bailey Gordon on for many reasons, and you'll hear more about that in the show, but I thought Bailey would be good because she can speak directly to a lot of the struggles that I think many people face when deciding when to go full-time in their businesses. She's been a photographer for a long time, but she also did many years also working and photographing on the side. Sound familiar? She had a few babies and realized she couldn't do it all, and she finally dove all into her photography business while raising tiny humans, and she's never looked back. So we will talk more about this and this transition in the show, but and also talk about what has helped her and what didn't work and what she's up to now. So here we go. I do want to do a little intro because people might not know who you are. And you're actually I was thinking about this in the shower. I was like, she's a really hard one to do an intro for because there's a lot to say about you. It's so awesome. But this is Bailey. And so Bailey is a photographer of I would say all things. She does shoot weddings, but you shoot everything. And it's really cool the way that you do it. And you've grown into an everything photographer, I would say. But aside from photography, you do literally 1 million other things. She's had a podcast. She's wrote a book. She's like a fast pitch. Is that even the sport? Fast pitch, like champion times a million. She's just a bakery. She opened a bakery on her porch last year, just like on a whim. And she has 3 children who are all little. She does a lot of things. I'm sure I'm forgetting things. She's also an amazing 3-year-old fast pitch baseball coach.
Thank you. That's a lot. It's called ADHD.
ADHD. Also, and we will talk about this too, but you also started a networking group for moms, and it's blown up in this last year. So we'll talk about that too, I'm sure, at some point in the podcast and like where you want to take that too. But Bailey, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't believe you like soft launched this podcast. I just see this casual, like cute photo of Gina like talking into a microphone. I'm like, oh, what's she doing? Oh, cool. She launched a podcast. No, like we were texting that day.
We were.
Like we were like texting like back and forth. And I was like, what?
Nobody knew. Anyway. Nobody knew. Literally, I don't even know if my husband knew. When I go quiet, that's when people should be worried.
But I like it. I honestly was just like, gosh, I'm going to take a page out of Gina's book and just soft launch something like so aggressive like that. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. Like
that's the goal this week. Gina
something
style
crazy.
Soft launch. Yeah, next week. It doesn't have to be big, or it can be. Yeah. I don't care. Oh, I can't wait for next week. It's going to be like Christmas for me, just to see what you do.
I'll keep you posted. Check in, make sure my ADHD didn't get the best of me, because like sometimes I just forget. Like I like have like total blackout episodes where I'm like, so people will tell me secrets, and then suddenly they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, do you remember that really deep, dark secret I told you? And I'm like, yeah. Searching my brain frantically. Oh my God, what did they tell me? But anyway, I think that's a good intro into who I am. I do a lot of things, as you said. I think I like to experience the whole human experience. I don't want to just pigeonhole myself into one thing.
Do I have to make this explicit now?
I don't want to put myself into one box where I can't experience everything. That goes with photography. I didn't want to just be a wedding photographer because I was like, oh, but I want to go take pictures of their babies now. And oh my gosh, those babies, they're toddlers. I want to go chase them around and take pictures of them doing the crazy things toddlers do. And oh my gosh, now you've started a business. I want to take pictures of your business. And so it's been really fun to grow with a lot of clients. I have a lot of return clients. I would say, I think I did the stats in 2023. I didn't do them this year because who has time? But 56% of my clients were all returning. And 56%. And I was like, that's pretty good. I don't have to go out and re-find people and do all that. So it felt, I don't know, it just feels really good. And I get to nurture a relationship with these people. And they're not just my clients. We're like friends. Like we talk on, and stuff like that.
It's great.
And so I think the stuff that I do outside of photography is honestly, the fact that I've been doing photography for so long is a shock It's because I'm like Dory. I'm like jumping from one jellyfish to the other. And I'm like hoping I don't get stung. And then when I do, I'm like down for the count. But I think that's why I started the porch bakery, or I started a podcast, or I wrote a book, or I coached T-ball, or I coached softball, or I started the mom group. Like I have a lot of little life experience, but I want to share what little life experience I have with everybody. And I'm like, oh my God, I can bake bread. It's good. You should have some.
Yes,
Or, oh
do
my
it.
gosh, like
Yes.
I know how to take photos. They're pretty good. I'll take your picture. That's just how everything for me starts. That's how photography
Yeah.
started. And I
Yeah.
like it that way.
I love it.
Niche, niche. I'm like, I can't niche.
I think
I like
that's refreshing
malfunction.
to hear. It's refreshing because you do hear niche all the time, and
Yeah.
it just goes to show that you don't have to. I also think that our creative energy it's not unlimited, so when you have it with something, to go 100% at it is it's amazing, and to be able to give yourself that permission to do that is it's really cool to watch and see and just see where it's taking you.
Thank you. I would say there's pros and cons. Like I do think niching down helps in some ways, especially if your brain works that way. You can get really good. There's a saying, and I don't know, can I say like a little bit of a swear word?
Check a box.
Okay. Okay. But I don't want to half-ass something I should whole-ass.
Yeah.
I can find that I can spread myself too thin. This is like a cautionary tale. There is a point where you do have to kind of cap it, stop
Yeah.
the branches from expanding to other territories. Because no, I need to like focus on the things like I told this story to somebody. I'll keep it very brief, but like tomato plants, the tomatoes on the vine, they won't ripen if they're creating too many offshoots on the plant. So if you still have green tomatoes after like your plant has been growing for so many months, it's because there's too many offshoots. So you have to cut off the offshoots because they're trying to grow new plants. The plant is taking its energy to these other offshoots, and it
Yes.
can't ripen the tomatoes that are already on the vine ready to be ripened. So like then you're left with a bunch of green tomatoes or unfinished projects or half-assed things that you can't get to be a ripened, really good tomato until you get rid of the extracurricular things that are not bringing, that are not serving the current tomatoes.
That's
It's like,
so good.
I had this epiphany while I was cutting my literal tomato plants. I was
It's
like, yes, it's my tomato story. And it's why I actually stopped coaching and I'm not coaching softball this year. There was
mhm.
this reel talking about why your tomatoes aren't turning red. And so I went out and I was like, oh, yeah, my tomatoes aren't turning red. I've been wondering. We have this massive tomato plant. And I was like, I should have a plethora of tomatoes. I should be eating tomatoes for the next 2 years based on how large this plant was. And I had no tomatoes. And I was like, what the flip is happening? And so I go out and I'm cutting them back and I'm like, oh my God. And this was like when I was in a little bit of a spot. I was like, I'm cutting back these tomato plants to let my tomatoes ripen. And I'm like, oh my God, I should cut back my tomato plant. And
I
so, yeah,
love that. Oh
yeah.
my god, that's
So
so good. What an epiphany to have, and let's share that because so many people are gonna hear that and then look at their lives and be like, "I have some green tomatoes, baby."
I need to, and so that's why, like, I don't want a niche. I never will like hone in on one thing. I'm never going to just do one thing,
Mhm,
but I can do five things really well. Me personally, that's
mhm.
my capacity. Or I need to know my capacity and what
Yeah.
ripens my tomatoes.
My question with that is, do you think that so we're talking about on the show your transition to full-time, and we'll go into the backstory of what you were doing beforehand, but do you think that's what slowed your transition down? Like, you didn't transition sooner because you had so many tomatoes?
I would say there's actually a few other things. I would say I also do a lot of thinking in the shower. So I know you mentioned this to
Everybody
me
does.
earlier. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I also think a lot in the shower. And so I was thinking a lot about like my transition to being full time. And it was forced upon me. Do you want me to go into that right now? Like it was not forced, but like,
Yeah,
let's go
let's
there. Okay.
start with what you were doing briefly and then the force. The force.
Perfect. Okay. So I've had many jobs leading up to being a photographer. I started being a photographer in really 2011. I started taking pictures with my dad's camera, and then he wanted his camera back. So then for Christmas, he bought me my own camera, and he's okay, now give me back mine. Here's your own. Have fun. And then people started liking the photos and they're like, oh my gosh, can you do this? I was like, yeah, $50. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. And so I started an official business in 2012, February of 2012. It's coming up on, what was that, 13 years of being an actual business. And I was like, great, this is so cool. I love this. And I once, never once considered making it a full time job. I didn't know. I didn't know that I could do this as my full time job. Like, it wasn't, what was 2012? I don't even think I had an iPhone yet. Like, I didn't know, like, Facebook was like, I was on Facebook. There wasn't influencers. There wasn't people
Yes.
out here educating and telling you, like, there are educators. There's like the OG educators, but no one was saying, go full time, go for it. Or maybe I wasn't listening. I don't know. I'm a terrible listener. Like, it was different. It was different. I like just didn't know. And so I continued on my path of having stable jobs with a stable income and healthcare,
Mhm.
so that I felt safe because that's what everybody wants for you in your life. And so I just stayed with the different jobs and I would consistently get in trouble. I remember I would edit like at my computer when I really should have been filing some documents and my boss would get upset with me and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I have no desire to file those papers, which we should be keeping on the computer, which we should
Yeah.
have digitized. But no, I don't have the desire to go into the file room and putting them away. I would rather be doing this. And I wish that was my catalyst into being
Yeah.
full-time photography, but it wasn't. I had a friend ask me in 2013 if I would come work for him for a company called Volt Athletics. It was a startup and they sell strength and conditioning programs to teams and athletes and things like that. And so I started going down the path of strength and conditioning. I got my certification to be a strength coach. I've been involved in powerlifting and very heavily. I've been weightlifting for 20 years. And so it just felt right. Like I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I worked there for 5 years and I did their support department. I was like the face of like their customer service. Like I did all their tutorial, like I did a lot of things there. And I even took their pictures and I never even thought that I would go full time because I liked what I was doing. And in 2019, I found out I was pregnant with twins and I was like, you know what? I can't go back to work. I can't afford. I worked for a startup, okay? And full
Mhm.
disclosure, gosh, I was making probably $3,000 a month. And as a non like Kellen and I were barely married. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like $3,000 a month. And gosh, it was 2019, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But I was like, we moved and I knew that I couldn't make the commute every day and miss out on my kids. I'd have to leave before they woke up and I'd get home before they went to bed. And I just knew that I had to make a transition and moving into full time photography was the answer. But looking back, I wish I would have done it sooner because building a business full time with twin toddlers and shortly after having our third kid, it's been a grind. I, I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think about. You went full time with 3 tiny humans, essentially. They were
January 2020, I had the girls. They were 4 months old, 4-month-old twins. And 2 months later, COVID happened. It was a fog that I'm finally coming out of. It's been about 3 months that I've been out of the fog so far.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome. Well,
um,
I'm in the fog, so welcome.
until they're about three, like you're in a
Yeah.
fog and yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Um, Looking back, or I guess when you decided that you're like, "We're gonna have twins, I cannot go back to my job. I'm gonna do photography full time." Was there a window where you're like, "I need to do this and this to prepare for that?" Or were you just so busy preparing for life changes? What were you doing to prepare to be full time, or was it just take it as it is?
Nothing. I was doing nothing. I had been doing this on the side for 8 years at this
Yep.
point. I was very well established. There was no concern over would I find clients. I knew I was going to do it and I knew I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
I just didn't quite know how. And I think if we talk about like things that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have prepared more. I wish I would have known, okay, if I want to make $100,000 in a year, it's going to take me, this is what it's going to take to get there. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to wing it. Like I do
Yeah.
everything. Oh, I'm gonna start
Yeah.
podcasting, start porch bakery, like it's just all these things. Photography business. And so I'm still winging it um, in a much more controlled manner now.
Yes.
It feels more okay. I'm trying to find the things that help me. I'm in a place in my business where I'm very into efficiency. I have been for a long time. and making sure that the things that I'm currently doing, I'm getting really good at those editing, turnaround times, culling, workflows, responding to emails, I have guides for just about everything. Like just making sure that the client experience is really good. That's just always been something that I've wanted to do, but like ever since being able to go full time, I can focus in on that more. It, it's cleared up that path to be able to make the experience as a Photos by Bailey client just better. And so I just continue every year. That's like always the forefront. It's like,
Yeah.
how can I make this experience better? Like I've just started making guides for the locations that I go to. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this is the location. Here's the parking situation. Here's a list of all the things you can do around that area. And it's just for that location. So they get a guide for, hey, welcome. This is what you should wear on the day of, and this, that. And it's not very
Yeah.
long. It's just a place that all the information I normally tell people, it's just
Yeah.
consistent and it's just helping me with consistency.
Totally. Like you would have had to send all that in an email and now here it
Totally.
is. Let me answer your
Mhm.
questions. And
Yep.
that's probably
Efficient.
the only way you could do, yeah, all the things that you do is to be like as efficient as possible.
Yeah. And I think I can be even more efficient. Like I think I can do a really good job of getting really efficient for my families, but then like my seniors, that's maybe not as efficient there because I don't do
Yeah.
them as often. It's really prioritized on the things that I do a lot of.
Yes.
And like,
Prioritize.
yeah, okay, here's my really long list. Here are the 3 things that matter right now. So I'm getting pretty good at that. But yeah, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Can I say one other thing I wish I would have done before
Yeah.
getting started?
Please.
I wish I would have found community earlier.
Yeah.
I it has been, and I don't know if it's just because I'm coming out of the fog or not, but finding, oh my gosh, it might make me emotional. You shot my wedding. You were there. And that is really one of the first interactions I'd had with another photographer outside. I have a couple other photographer friends, but meeting you was just okay. It was just really nice to find another photographer who was in a similar situation. And I put that in my email to you, like my inquiry. Oh, you like to lift weights? Same.
Do this too.
You, oh,
Yeah.
you, this person? Oh, same. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we know, like, we just knew we had so many similarities. And I was like, it just makes sense. And so everything that you do, it's so when you created the Gina Paulson education, when you did your workshop in 2022, my son was a year old. It was literally about the time that he was a year old. And you did that 5-day workshop. And I was like, oh, I don't, in my mind leading up to, I was like, oh, I don't need that. Like, I know what I'm doing. I don't know if that's going to be for me. I don't know if it's something that I should do because I'm established. I've been doing this so long. Yeah, I got my workflows. And then you and I talked about it and I did it and I signed up and I was like, okay, I met all these people and I was a part. It wasn't even about, I learned a ton, even knowing as much as I did. It was just like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, I should bring that back. Or, oh, yeah, photo mechanic. I've been wanting to try that. That's cool to hear
Hmm.
like a firsthand experience, like all these things. Something that I didn't even know I was missing. I wouldn't have signed up because I didn't know I was missing it. I didn't know that I needed the community
Hmm.
because I didn't realize how important it was. And that was April 2022. My son is 1, my girls were 2. I had
In the
3
thick of it.
kids, 2 and under. And I was just like, "Oh my god." Like I'm like they turned 3 later that year, but it was just like, "Oh my gosh, like all right, I'm in a deep dark place. I don't know how I'm even going to get myself out of this." And so joining your workshop and your, what did you call it? Why am I blanking?
Yeah. It was just,
Okay, I think so too. I think that's what you did. And joining that, honestly, I would say it put its claws in me and
mhm,
started to pull me out because I met all these wonderful people in this group and we're still in touch to this day. So
special.
it's like
That group was,
it was special and it was just like I knew right then that it had changed me. Like I knew I needed community because I
hmm,
had done that. I had taken the chance
hmm,
to get to know other photographers. It was never a question of wanting to know other photographers. It just didn't feel accessible. And it
hmm,
just, there was not really anything like that. There was, but there wasn't. And so being able to join that virtually and having that interaction, even though I didn't get to join all the time and I don't think I got fully out of it what I could have had I been able to sit down and
yeah, yeah.
focus. This is the longest I've sat down, like 20 minutes is a long time for me to sit down. Okay.
We have a
Um,
PR.
you, yeah, both of us, you too.
Yeah. Same.
So it's like, it just changed me. And so I knew from then on I needed community. Those girls, like, if I can't shoot something, we have the group, or we have a text thread, or we have all these photographers that I can rely on, and I know I can
Mm-hmm.
count on them to deliver a really good product, just as good as I would have done, if not better. And I feel so comfortable giving my
Yes.
clients to them and saying, oh, you know what? I can't shoot that wedding. Who could? Maybe could Gina, or
Mhm.
maybe could Emily, or
Yeah.
Lindsay, or Kristen, or whatever. There's all these different people that I can like lean on now. You just,
Mhm.
and so you build this community, and so thank you. It is, you don't really realize how like
Yeah.
life-changing it is until
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, what was it that spearheaded the need for my community? Oh my gosh, it was when I did Gina's 5-day workshop. And
I love
yeah,
that.
I do think that's, now it's
Yeah.
2022 and it's taken me this long to get out. So it was the starting point. It was literally ground zero. And so it's pretty cool.
Nice. Hey photographers, I'm interrupting my own episode because there's something I want to tell you. If you are ready to elevate your wedding photography business, build an incredible portfolio, and connect with a community of like-minded creatives, then you do not want to miss this. I'm hosting an in-person wedding photography workshop on May 26th, and it's going to be an absolute game changer for your business. This is your chance to capture stunning, high-end portfolio images with curated styled shoots, dive deep into the business and marketing strategies, and get hands-on coaching to help you book more of your dream clients. Whether you're looking to refine your posing, master your workflow, or elevate your overall brand, this workshop is going to be designed to give you everything you need to level up. Spots are limited to 10 photographers, and early bird pricing won't last long. Head to the show notes and submit an application now to secure your spot. I cannot wait to see you there. Let's make this the year your photography business absolutely thrives.
So it's kind of
That
fun
is
to get to be
so good.
here
Yeah,
because it was like such a big deal for me to be in community and have you shoot my wedding. It started there. And then now, like,
that's what's
we're
crazy.
friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I tell people in my wedding guide, I'm like, you need to find a photographer that you like. I said, I swear, my wedding photographer, she invited me to her birthday, and
I
now our kids
did.
are friends. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Someone
you
you
have to
can
find a
connect with
photographer
on
you love.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
special. It just the relationship can go so much farther in life than your wedding day and like ours has. It's pretty crazy. And I'm
Yeah.
as you're talking, I'm thinking back to like when I went full time in photography and I went to a workshop in 2018 and that also like it's being around like-minded enough people, but also people that you aspire to be like as well. So
Mhm.
people that are pushing you, challenging you, getting you to think creatively, like flex that muscle a little bit. And it really did project me further into this. So I
Yeah.
think that's a huge part if someone's looking to go like full time
Yeah.
is
Absolutely.
find some friends, find a community, get yourself around other photographers as uncomfortable as it may seem. Ours was virtual, which was perfect for that
Mhm.
time and
It was
that group. It
perfect.
was
Yep.
so great. Mine was in person and I literally drove out to the snow in the mountains. My mom was like terrified. She's like, who are these people? And I was like, I don't know, but I'll be back in
Where are
five
you going
days.
to?
Yeah.
That's where your
Yeah.
super cute pictures from, where you're like,
Oh, yes. Oh my God. Yes.
I was like, oh, that
It
looks
was a big
fun. I
deal.
remember.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
terrified, but it was so good
Yeah.
for me and my business.
There's no
Mhm.
one
We
for
don't
us
have
to like bounce ideas off of. Like, we
mhm.
live in this echo chamber of this is what I've done since 2012 and I'm going to stay here. And
Yeah.
it's no, because I can't Google something. There are things that you just can't, they're not Googleable.
Yes.
Like, you need to talk to a human being. Like, I need
Yeah.
to know, oh, you've used this. Did you like it? Because I've been looking at this and I'm
Yeah.
not so sure. Or I've been using this and I've been curious about switching to this. Like,
Mhm.
just even having the community, not just for the social aspect, but because you don't have coworkers to bounce ideas off
Yeah.
of. It's
Yeah.
so vital. It is so vital. We are not meant to live alone. We are not meant to do this life alone. We're not meant to be alone. And so it's just, I don't know. Yes, it propels you and it takes you to different heights you didn't know that you couldn't even expect. You just, yeah.
Yeah. Thinking back to I'm also thinking back to when I went full time, but thinking back to when you went full
Yeah.
time, maybe and it's a hard one for you because I know you were also like going full time with 3 little tiny babies. But when it came to business, what was like one of the biggest, hardest transitions for you from having this? You came from a job where you like had your tasks and your boss and whatever, and then all of a sudden you have like you're all this time and all these ideas and stuff. What was like the hardest transition or thing you had to figure out when you first went full time? And then like how did you figure that out, or did you just keep going?
I have two.
Go for it. Oh, good,
Uh,
good, good.
one one would be time management.
Yeah.
I was a student athlete. I've always had someone that was like checking in on me. And then, of course, like a boss, like
Mhm.
being a student athlete and then having a job where you have a boss. There's people holding you accountable and there's people like making sure you get the project done. As an ADHD girly, I have a tendency to start a lot of projects and then not always finish them. And that was like all my life. I've been told literally every report card talks too much, doesn't finish her homework, but starts projects, doesn't finish them, talks too much, doesn't stay in her seat, like all the things that are deemed as bad. And so all my life, I've had these. Every single boss has told me, you start projects, you don't finish them. I've always thought that it was a bad thing. I've always thought that my ADHD traits were like negatives, or not always thought that. It's always been projected on me that they were like that I'm
Yeah.
not good enough because I don't do it right or I don't do it the way that they expect me to do it. And I think that like coming out and like realizing that those are superpowers and they're not
Mhm.
hindrances. Like, okay, it's okay that I start a lot of projects. It's really good. Like a lot of people envy that or like they ask me like, "Oh my gosh, how can you do so many things?" or how do you just go for it? How do you I don't know how to just go for it. Like it's a thing that people want to do, but it's something I was always told was bad. And
Mhm.
so I think honing in on like time management skills and having to be my own, hold myself accountable, whereas all these other people were holding me accountable, but like in a way that they felt was right. And I never liked that. So I've always thought that I didn't like routine. I've always thought that I didn't like being told what to do or like having a schedule. I've always thought I was like always pushing against it because people were saying that I had to do it and I don't like being told what to do. And so it's like, you have to do it this way. You have to do this way. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And that's stubborn. But stepping back and like coming out of the fog and stuff, I know, okay, I need to have time management. And
Mhm.
every single day, so one of the things that I'm like working really hard on, I'm working very hard, but I
Mhm.
make a list the night before I go to bed. I like make a little to-do list for the next day. And I literally write out 7:30 wake up or whatever, 8 a.m. eat
Yeah.
breakfast or do this. This is
A
my workout
schedule.
time. And I have to do it. And if I write it down, I do it. And if I don't write it down, I don't do it. And if I
Mhm.
don't make a to-do list, I'm just floating through the air and I find myself wondering who put me on this planet and why I'm here. That's how those things happen is when I don't have a focus.
Didn't make a list.
Make a list that day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make some cookies. Oh, you know what? I've got 48 dozen cookies here. What am I going to do with all these cookies? I literally
Such
made
an
a logo,
entrepreneur.
made a sign, put it on my porch, and I was like, come and get the goods, guys. They're ready. And then I never did it again.
I love it. Okay,
First,
that yes. The time management though, that's one of the hardest things. Like when finally you get to make it yourself,
yeah,
it's like a new skill that you have to acquire and then stick to it and prioritize. That's another hard one is what do I
that was
actually need to be
the other
doing?
thing. That was prioritized. Like saying, okay, this is the big list of things that I eventually want. Oh, I'm sweating.
Me too.
This
Me
is
too.
the this is the big list of things I need to get done. And here are the things I can get done. And here are the processes. There's a couple of other things that I want to do. The mom boss meetup, we'll talk about it, but
Yes,
I want to get to a certain point, but I have to do these other really mundane, boring tasks first. And I'm like,
to get there.
like
Yes.
I don't want to do them. And I'm like, okay, I'd have to like, and
Yeah, yeah,
so it's
yeah.
just yeah, like prioritizing, be like, no, I have to do this. I can't even do this until I do this one thing, make this one call to the Secretary of State. So hard to do, but it has to be done. And so then when you do it, you're like, yay. Or then when you do it and they're like, no, you actually have to go online and do this thing. And then you're back at square one. That's me. But anyway, it's just one of those things where like you have to you learn so much. It's you have to be an entrepreneur and to do this full time, you have to be okay with failing. You have to be okay with not everything working out. You have to be okay with it not being perfect before you launch. Launch it messy, do it like quietly if you want. Just like soft launch a podcast so that even the friends that you were texting that day don't know.
Even your
But
yeah,
like
spouse, it's fine.
that's how I picture the conversation with David going.
Exactly.
Um, and so I think that you just have to be okay with failing and
Yeah.
be okay with it not being okay. Be
Yeah.
okay stumbling and figuring out how to crawl before you walk And if you walk before you crawl, then figuring out how to lay those foundations anyway. That's a lot of what I'm doing as a longtime entrepreneur who did this for a long time without being full time and very messily. Is that a word?
Messily.
Is
Yeah.
that is that a we here? So yeah, so it's just know that and just know you can do it. Find your people you can lean on because you can't do it alone. You just can't.
Ah, that was like that should be the end of the
I don't
episode
want
because I want to talk about Mom Boss.
to.
But my last question for you was going to be like a piece of encouragement because it's so scary for a lot of people. But literally, that's it. Like everything you just said in the last 15 seconds should be like on repeat. Maybe I'll just make a little blip of it so people can just like, play it every morning when they go to their day job. So
Like,
they
here I go.
finally,
Do it messily.
yeah, do it messily. That's and just do it. That's
Just
the
do it. Like
key of
Nike
it.
had it right.
They knew what they were doing
They knew
apparently.
it.
Yeah. Now you are years into full time and you are also now launching a new venture. Tell us about it.
So I was talking earlier about obviously the need for community and like needing to be around people. Um, and one of the things that has been born out of that, pun intended, I guess, is the Mom Boss Meetup. Um, and basically, uh, I've been very lonely. I'm an extrovert. Um, Moving while pregnant, having twins, heading into a pandemic, knowing nobody down where I moved to except for family, which they're cool, but I need my friends, I need my people. Just moving, just like it was all a lot. And it makes me feel sick to think about because it's like, how did I do that? Did I survive? Barely. It was really hard.
Mhm.
And so I just remember it being really, I'd get really low and really
Mhm.
depressed and really, I just felt like I couldn't even, I can't even describe it. It was so painfully deep that like my loneliness was just like, oh man. And so fast forward, that was 2020 or 2019 with the girls, and then 2020 with COVID and stuff. And then 2024, no, 2023, end of 2023, I started therapy. What took so long? I don't know. She's so fantastic. She's like such a wonderful therapist. She just gets me and like we've worked through so many things. And the number one thing we worked through, like within probably the first two or three sessions, was that I need connection. It's a driving force in my life and in my world, and I need it like I need water and like
Mhm.
sustenance. And so I remember it was October 2023 and she's, what can you do today to find community? And so I was like, you know what, I've been thinking about joining V Athletics. And I was like, I have been wanting to go like for years. Amber, we went to college together, and so I've known Amber
Yeah.
for years. Watching her open that up, I was like, that is so cool. I love this so much.
Yes. For people who don't know, V Athletics is like an all women's gym in the area.
Yes.
Go on.
So an amazing space. It's just everything is so beautiful. And I was just like, I just want to be a part of that. I just want to go and not only work out, but meet other women who like
Mhm.
just get it. Like they're just cool. And so I started going to V. That was like a really big part of like my community. So in November of 2023, I started at V. And then I had been talking to a few friends for several years before 2021 and 2022. I had been talking to somebody about like my friend Sheila about the fact that like we have these twins and sometimes it feels really hard to show up in our business authentically because we're really maybe struggling with our motherhood, or we don't want to show up as, we don't want them to think we're unprofessional because we're in this messy motherhood stage. And I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be so nice if we could like, meet up and have coworkers and do all this stuff? And joining that workshop was a big thing. And I was just like, you know what? I would really like to have this group and I would like to call it the Mom Boss Meetup. And I think we could meet up and have co-working spaces and have events where people come and they talk about something they're really good at, or maybe it's just their business, or maybe it's something they're really passionate about outside of business. And it's maybe about motherhood, maybe it's about self-care, whatever it is. If they're passionate about it, I want to hear about it. And I want to give them a platform to like be able to speak about it. And so I was like, so I started the Instagram handle in June of 2022. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start this handle. I'm just going to grab it. And I didn't really do much on it. And then fast forward to 2023 ish, late 2023, early 2024. And I was talking to my therapist about my connection needs and joining V and like finding all these women. And I was like, I just decided to do the Mom Boss meetup. And I remember I asked you, I asked 4 or 5 friends to come. And I was like, okay, guys, I just want you to come and hear me out. Like, hear if this idea is even any good. So March 13th, 2024, we go to Dystopian Brewery, and I got my 4 friends coming, and I'm so excited. And I knew that there were probably going to be about like maybe 7 or 8 coming because I knew some people were bringing some people. And then 14 people show up. And I'm like, I was so emotional. I was just like, you were there. I
I
was
loved
just
it.
like, oh my gosh, this is okay. This
Yes.
is a need. Moms need moms. Moms need other people. Moms need a village. Like these people who work for themselves, who are also raising tiny children, they want a spot. Not even tiny. They could be 25. They could be
Mhm.
36. I don't care. Come along. Anybody's welcome. Even if you don't have moms, or even if you're not a mom. Everybody has mom, but at least start with mom. You don't have mom. But everybody is welcome. But we do really focus on moms. And basically the
Mhm.
point is to get moms together who work for themselves by themselves, or they don't even work by themselves. They just want to find a little bit extra community. They want to learn some stuff about business. They want to feel validated in their feelings for the different seasons of life that they're in. They just want to like have maybe even a social aspect of just meeting other moms. And so yeah,
It
it's just
was
become like
good.
it's something we do monthly. It's going to turn into a virtual membership. I'm working on maybe that'll be my soft launch, but I'm working on some things like to make sure that because I love the in person. I need the in person,
Yeah.
but I don't
Mhm.
think it's accessible for everybody. And I'm very into like accessibility and inclusivity and like making sure that people can access this. And so I'm like, okay, I have a ton of people in Seattle and
Mhm.
California, New York. Like I have people that I want to be a part of this that aren't, that I want them to be able to share their resources. I just want it to be a place where people feel understood. Like I want you to be able to go on and say, hey, does anybody have a really good babysitter? I'm like in a bind and I desperately need a babysitter. Or, hey, what are you guys using for your website?
Mhm.
Or do you guys like this service? Or where's the best play date spot to go? I want it
Yeah.
to be an all encompassing place for moms to feel like they can be their authentic, genuine self. And I just want it to be safe. And you can show up as you are. You don't need to be in a blazer and a pencil skirt to come to this event.
Mhm.
I want you to
Yeah.
feel welcome and genuinely safe here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think you are the most perfect person for that because you just radiate like welcomeness. I watched you meet a lot of those people for the first time, and just like the entire room was just like comfortable and at ease, and it just felt so right. And so it's just like you yourself, like to your core, that's who you are. There's no pressure to be anything other than
Mhm.
who you are today. And I think that's really special. And it's cool to see how it has grown with you as a mom and then as a business owner too. Like your two worlds have come together into this like really beautiful thing. And I'm really excited. I know it's going to grow a lot this year.
It's insane. We're coming up on a year, and I can't believe all that we've accomplished in a year. And so I'm
Mhm.
in 9 or 10 months, and I'm just like, whoa, this is. And I know I'll always do photography. This isn't like replacing photography because that's something
Mhm.
I'm good at. That's a skill. But this feels different. It's a passion project, but I think that this is where I want to maybe shift a little bit of my focus. Like, I
Yeah.
really want to make it a priority and make it really good. Like, I want this to be really good. Green tomatoes on my vine.
But
Like,
yeah.
I don't want this to go away. We regularly have 25 people coming to these meetups.
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
big number. 25 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like, that's a full classroom.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
back in the olden days before they had overstuffed them, but I'm just that's full classroom. Like we're getting up into the
Yeah.
30s, 30 at our holiday party. It's just the energy just is really good. You feel really good when you leave the meetup. You feel really welcome. We have people who come, women who come who are not moms, and they even feel welcome. And it's
Yeah.
called the Mom Boss Meetup. Can I come? I'm a stepmom, or my kid's 30. Can I come? Or I don't have my own business, but I still want to. No, you can come. You
Yeah.
just have to respect that we are not about hustle, grind, do it, and sleep when you're dead. We're trying to find the balance that doesn't exist, but we're trying to encourage finding it. We're trying to encourage you to make the best decision for yourself. It's just a place that Yeah, I will start the Mom Boss podcast, but it is very, I just want to give a platform to women who own their own businesses and they are raising families, and we're
Mhm.
doing it all in a world where that is not built for us to do it all. We're doing everything. You're the magic maker, you're a money maker, you're the memory maker, but you're also supposed to keep yourself alive and prioritize your friendships and your husband. You're supposed to do all these things, but you're also supposed to make the money. And you're supposed to do it after having a kid, and you're supposed to like bounce back, and you're supposed to do it perfectly, but you're not supposed to it's
Yes.
and you're supposed to eat
Yeah.
this way. So
Yeah.
there's
It's
there's a
just
lot. And so
accept
I
or
want this
yeah.
that you're supported in that.
Oh, I
I'm
love that.
excited.
I love
I'm
that.
excited.
I think
I have
that
two things
this is
to
gonna
do.
be really refreshing for people to hear, especially moms who are in their jobs right now. And they've so many moms I know that want to pick up photography on the side and then transition as they see it as their way out of their day job kind of thing. But what's really cool about this conversation, I think, too, is that you did that and then you also continued to follow like a passion that might turn into something else too. Just to know that you might make that leap to full time and then it might lead you somewhere else too, or not. But it's
Right.
just going with the flow and trusting in it and also
Yeah.
trusting yourself.
Trust.
And
I mean,
hey,
that's the deal.
yeah, no, you're good. Before I have a couple hot seat questions. These are not related to anything. There's three of them.
Yay.
These are fun. So I'm going to ask these like on every episode, I think.
I hope I do it justice.
Okay, first one. Would you rather be able to talk to animals or fly?
Talk to animals. No, fly. Why did I say
You-
talk to animals? Fly. I
if
was
you could have
thinking
one
fly.
superpower, what would it be?
One to
The level of
to do
stress,
the
right?
hard thing, to do the things, the little minuscule tasks like opening up my mail and calling the billing place. That'd be my superpower. To just do all the things I'm supposed to do.
I've never heard that. To just be a doer.
Like to just do the things, not even a doer, do the things I'm supposed to be doing to just continue to exist properly, make the good meal and do the thing. Like a Bailey gets to exist as she is. And then there's another little mini Bailey who's out there making the really delicious meal. She's calling the insurance company, making sure that they're doing this. She's calling the Secretary of State, and she's doing the
It's
things that
basically
she's
like
supposed to do.
cloning yourself,
Maybe it's just like a
a
mini
robot
Bailey.
clone. And this, I'm actually excited to hear your answer on this. What is one word that you're living by right now?
Consistency.
I love it.
I'm trying to just be more consistent and show up for my kids consistently. Showing up for myself consistently is a big one in 2025
Mhm.
because
Good.
I put myself last a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then where can people find both you, like your photography, and also Mom Boss stuff?
Yeah. Photos by Bailey, at Photos by Bailey on Instagram. Really just Instagram's like my main hub. And then if you want to follow my personal page, it's at Bailey C. Gordon.
I recommend that as well. You
That's
have
the more
other
fun.
probably multiple.
You follow
Yeah,
them all. You never know what you're going to get.
it's true.
You know,
I know what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get a laugh or just something super informative, like I'm gonna learn something, or it's something that's gonna make me feel good. So
can't wait to have you on my podcast.
I can't wait to be there. All right, guys, that's it. That is Bailey Gordon. So, to recap, Bailey jumped all in full time after having her kids and realizing that it was now or never. She decided niching down wasn't for her, and she now shoots all kinds of sessions and projects. She's a people person, and this style of photography serves her. The biggest takeaways would be that if you're considering going full time, to find community, find photographer and creative friends to help you in that transition, because it can be lonely doing it by yourself, especially if you're going from having coworkers to suddenly being all by yourself in this big transition, starting this new business. So find people you can lean on, talk to, and work things out with. The other takeaways would be that it's okay to do it before you're fully ready. One thing she changed if she could go back was that she would have done it sooner. So she says to just go for it, do it messily, but just do it. I hope you feel motivated and inspired to take some sort of leap, whether you're ready for it or not, after hearing Bailey's story today. That's all for now. Stay focused and keep smiling. Hey, photographers, I'm interrupting my own episode because there's something I want to tell you. If you are ready to elevate your wedding photography business, build an incredible portfolio, and connect with a community of like-minded creatives, then you do not want to miss this. I'm hosting an in-person wedding photography workshop on May 26th, and it's going to be an absolute game changer for your business. This is your chance to capture stunning, high-end portfolio images with curated styled shoots, dive deep into the business and marketing strategies, and get hands-on coaching to help you book more of your dream clients. Whether you're looking to refine your posing, master your workflow, or elevate your overall brand, this workshop is going to be designed to give you everything you need to level up. Spots are limited to 10 photographers, and early bird pricing won't last long. Head to the show notes and submit an application now to secure your spot. I cannot wait to see you there. Let's make this the year your photography business absolutely thrives.